I call to order the Gladstone City Council special meeting for June 30th, 2021. It's 4:33 p.m. Per the Governor's Executive Order 20-16 regarding compliance with Oregon's public meeting laws, the City of Gladstone is abiding by social distancing requirements during the coronavirus pandemic. This meeting will be conducted using the Zoom platform. The Zoom access instructions can be found on the meeting agenda. Members of the City Council, staff, and the public all have access to this meeting. We will not have a consent agenda, business from the audience, nor business from the council. The only item to be discussed is the possible resolution on an option to ban fireworks. Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Ripley.
Yes.
Councilor Alexander. Councilor Alexander, you're muted.
Yes.
Councilor Tracy.
Yes.
Councilor Hartman.
Here.
Councilor Todd.
Here.
Councilor Garlington.
Here.
Mayor Stemple.
Here. All right, first I'm going to turn it over to staff so they can get us updated on what's going on.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you information. Yesterday, the city was made aware that the City of Portland had passed policy that was banning fireworks, primarily due to the extreme weather conditions that we're experiencing in the Pacific Northwest. The city also launched their education campaign yesterday in regards to fireworks safety. This topic generated a lot of discussion with all the city managers in Clackamas County. So I thought it'd be good for us to have our fire chief and our police chief and myself provide you some information to determine whether or not Gladstone wants to consider a ban on fireworks. The first thing I'd like to do is just to give you an update on what the other cities in Clackamas County are doing. The city of Milwaukee did pass an administrative ban yesterday. The cities of Sandy, Wilsonville, Happy Valley, Oregon City, Estacada, Lake Oswego, Malala, and Canby have indicated that they are going to do a very strong education push on the use of fireworks. The only other information I have is that the Clackamas County Commissioners will be meeting tomorrow. They are divided, and the Sheriff's Office has made it very clear that if there is a resolution for the ban, that they won't be able to enforce it, so it would be a symbolic resolution. So those are the updates that I have, and I think what we're going to do is first start with our Fire Chief, Rick Huffman.
Thanks, Jackie. Tammy, are we okay on our sound?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. I'd like to thank the mayor for calling this meeting so we could discuss the information and the conditions we're under. I have been giving this a lot of thought, and I put my thoughts on paper so I could give it to you without straying off topic. Following the devastating fires in the county and statewide last year and our current extreme weather and drought, banning the use of fireworks less than a week prior to the 4th of July sends a very good warning, but in my opinion, will not stop all fireworks from being used. Fireworks have been on sale and enforcement will be difficult due to our limited resources. The summer fire conditions have been increasingly dangerous over the years, not just in Clackamas County, but throughout the Western US. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon for people to perish in multiple homes, businesses, and whole communities to be lost in these fire conditions. These conditions are predicted also to continue. As fire chief, I do support a statewide ban on the sale and use of fireworks due to these extreme conditions. Risk of injuries and fires that can devastate a community also support this. This week, just north of our city a couple days ago, Gladstone firefighters assisted Clackamas firefighters, Tualatin, and Portland Fire on a fire just north of our border. that was very destructive and took out multiple houses. It started as a barbecue fire. So those are the conditions we're under in June, which is actually pretty remarkable. As we enter the recovery phase of the pandemic today, I feel we should be cautious of implementing another restriction on citizens. Regardless of the ban this week, calling upon the community to celebrate this week without fireworks is vital. Staffing remains challenging at the Gladstone Fire Department. We will be staffed with 3 personnel on a fire engine, 24 hours on the 4th of July, and we are finalizing additional staffing with paid call during the day and early evening. We only have about 1 to 3 people that might be able to work. As we have in the past, we will work with the police department on confiscating illegal fireworks, and we will have all fires investigated that are suspiciously started with fireworks. As a reminder, no one in the fire department can handle fires like we have experienced in September of last year, and it's difficult to manage timely response when we're very busy, which we usually are every 4th of July. So that's just a summary of the conditions and my thoughts. And to reemphasize, a ban would send a good warning, but it would be really difficult to enforce it. I think educating and doing a media blitz to not use fireworks this year would be pretty effective and at least show some kind of accomplishment, I believe. So there you go. I'll turn it over to the police chief. John?
Hi, John Schmerber, Chief of Police. Just talking about and looking at what other agencies are doing within the county and specifically what our capabilities are. Enforcing fireworks, illegal fireworks to begin with, is extremely difficult. Throughout the years, Gladstone, at least for the last 2 years, Gladstone shot off a lot of illegal fireworks. And even with us out there, there's certain criteria we need to be able to see, observe, see. There's a lot of criteria in which to charge somebody and take their fireworks away from them. It's a difficult position to be in when they're going off all around you. So just that in itself, hopefully our media blitz that we pushed out yesterday dampers that, people's attitudes, damper people wanting to use illegal fireworks, but I can't guarantee that they won't. To me, it's reckless if you do. But at the same time, our strategy is going to continue to be high visibility. We are staffed very heavily on Saturday and Sunday, specifically for these events. We have also staffed up our parks with Oregon Patrol to go at later hours. So the visibility is there. We get an opportunity to deal with illegal fireworks, great. We'll take enforcement action as we can. So that goes without question. By not allowing anybody to use fireworks in the city, I think that's a great message to send, but it's unrealistic for us to enforce. I don't know how we go ahead and do that and use law enforcement as the arm for that. That does not send a good message. With that said, with that said, we obviously, you guys have decisions to make. I can only give you what our opinion is after talking with my staff, after my experiences in dealing with 4th of July's over 34 years now in law enforcement. We hope that people use common sense and take personal accountability and responsibility, and that's what we got to rely on.
All right, anything else, Jackie?
No, we're available for questions.
Okay, I'll go through the counselors. I'll start with Counselor Garlington. Questions?
What are the, I should have looked this up. I just didn't have a chance. What are the current laws against fireworks in our city?
With regards to it really deals with illegal fireworks. Anything that goes up in the air, literally leaves the ground, goes up in the air, is illegal.
Okay.
So the legal fireworks are what's sold in the stands. Typically, this is my opinion, maybe not the fire chief's opinion, but typically when you're using legal fireworks safely, they're designed for that very thing, not to create problems. You put them in an open space, you have buckets of water, and you have ways to put them out. If people act responsibly and do that, you know, that's a big question, whether they're gonna be responsible and do that and not do it in a vegetated area. That's our fear, obviously. So, those ones are fine. It's the ones that go up in the air, go bang, and the mortars that you see go off up in the air. Those create the sparks that come down on the tinder.
So anything that goes in the air is currently illegal
That's correct.
anyway.
That's a short answer, yes.
So what we would be talking about here are like those little sneaky things on the ground, or a sparkler, or am I
Yes,
right? I'm just not up on my
fountains.
fireworks, sorry.
Yes, the fountains that go 3 or 4 feet high off the ground that aren't necessarily designed to start fires, although if put in the right conditions can.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
Was that it?
Well, you said questions. Was I supposed to have a,
Questions or concerns that you want answered by the chiefs or Jackie?
that was my biggest question. That's not to say I don't have a comment, but I will leave that for the next round of question, or the next round of, that was my only question. How's that?
Okay, thank you. Counselor
Thank you.
Alexander.
Yeah, so I was out today like I did with the park thing. I went all around the city, talked to as many people as I could. And, you know, we have a really smart community. And touching on what Chief Schmerber said, I mean, how about, let's come up with a compromise or a solution. How about like maybe down at the high school in an open parking lot where nothing can catch on fire, so the children can still enjoy their legal fireworks, maybe from 7 to 9. We could meet down there. Myself, a couple of my neighbors said they'd volunteer. We'd have buckets of water. We would clean them up, you know, that way the children get to also enjoy the legal fireworks, because that's just one of the solutions they had. And I thought it was a good idea. And I said, I'd run it by the council. That way the children get to enjoy it. And again, like they said, everyone I talked to today said, the people that have the illegal ones aren't going to listen to nothing and fire them off anyway. So that was just one solution I had that I thought was really good, that, you know, we got a few days. The educating's a good idea, but also, you know, let the children, they get excited. The pandemic's over. Let them go, you know, down there. It's a big open parking lot. I don't know why that'd be a problem. They'd be there from 7 to 9. The kids get to shoot sparklers and do their, you know, ground worms and the legal ones that they bought. So that was what I'm bringing to the council to see if they think it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Tracy?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm hearing the chiefs loud and clear, so I'm not sure. To my understanding, what I've heard, and maybe the chiefs can correct me if I'm wrong, is if we do this, it's not going to necessarily make any difference because they're not going to be able to enforce it. Is that what I'm hearing? For clarification.
Yes.
Okay, so I understand. I mean, I guess going back to your chief's point about the educational component here, maybe that's what we really rely on. And then I guess really focusing on the enforcement of the illegal aerial fireworks, which we all know land on roofs and create fires. So I guess I'm supporting the ban, but I'm just not sure. And I think I'm hearing from the chiefs whether there's any efficacy in the ban. And if there's no efficacy in the ban, then we may be in a position where we're expecting this enforcement and it's not going to happen. And then the citizens are coming back to us and basically saying, well, you guys can't even ban fireworks or enforce it. And to our credit, we just don't have that many law enforcement officers and fire staff on staff during this time period. So I guess what are we going to do? I don't have an answer. I'm just reiterating what I'm hearing. I don't see efficacy in a ban right now if we can't do the enforcement on it.
Can I respond, Counselor?
Yes, please.
I would, you know, I'm going to speak pretty openly here, and give my opinions on this. You know, they've opened fireworks stands prior to this going forward. Fireworks are already out there. Likely illegal fireworks are out there. I'm hoping people aren't going to be reckless and they're going to keep those indoors and go somewhere else where it's safe. But I think a loud message of the education piece that you're talking about and a strong stance on personal accountability is what we need right now. We're going to go down this route of banning fireworks We should have done it 6 months ago and had that campaign. And I get the fire danger, but we've been in a fire danger since last year. And fireworks is still being sold, not sold in Gladstone, but permits were issued elsewhere. And there was no discussion about that. That's the frustrating part from my perspective. It's also a perspective that I have that law enforcement has been through a lot. Not that we haven't earned some of it, but at the same time, we're going to be put in a very, very difficult position. That with families out there trying to maybe do some things with their children, and that are safe, and a ban would be an expectation of stopping it.
Okay. All
Can I,
right,
ask- can I ask one more question, Mayor?
yes.
So I haven't experienced a lot of folks, typically the run up to July 4th, you'll have folks experimenting with their fireworks running up to it. And I don't know if other folks are experiencing that in our community right now. I
Bombs.
haven't. Sorry?
I said bombs are going off in my neighborhood for the last couple nights.
Okay, yeah, so I haven't experienced that, and that I found it kind of different this year as opposed to many other years where the run up is usually about 7 days, about a week before the 4th, and they're setting off things. So I haven't experienced it down in my neighborhood. I just was curious if anybody else had. So thank you for the information, Mayor.
All right, Councilor Ripley.
First, I have a question for Chief Schmerber. How many full-time FTEs does the police department have?
How many full-time FTEs do we have? We have right now 19.5. We're getting ready to hire our 20th that we're authorized to.
So it takes 20 full-time cops in a 4.5 square mile town, and you guys stay busy all the time. I think we know that people are going to make bad decisions and they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. So if we put a ban on it, people are going to do what they want to do anyway. That's why you guys stay busy. My biggest thought about the ban is if you ban it, people are going to do it anyway, and they're going to move the fireworks from the street to their backyard, and then we're going to really have problems. Because people are going to light them off whether they feel like they're going to, whether they want to, or we say they can or can't. That's all my thoughts are.
All right, thank you. Councilor Todd.
I was having a hard time hearing the chief speak at one point. So Chief Huffman, can you summarize again how many people you're going to have going on the 4th?
Sure, Councilor. We'll have 3 personnel on the fire engine, all shift. And we're going to have at least a couple extra people during the day.
Okay.
And I have to kind of compliment Councilor Randy's position. And I agree with Chief Schmerber that the ban is necessarily not the best messaging, in my opinion. Education statements and warning statements, I believe, would be better received, especially days after the pandemic has ended. People are really fatigued of being told what they can't do anymore. And I think that I agree with Councilor Ripley that if they try to stay out of sight, it would not necessarily be the best conditions to do legal fireworks. So I agree with the chief and Councilor Ripley that education and statements to the public are I think, our best effort. And historically, just for facts, most fires are accidental because fireworks are improperly disposed of overnight, or because alcohol was involved, or they were illegal fireworks, which we can't control either. So I do believe that the condition we're under is very hazardous. As you know, the sun burnt a lot of vegetation just from the sun rays this week. And so the fire conditions are extreme, and we've never been in this in June. So it is concerning from a fire response point of view, but from a policy point of view at the city, I do support education over the statement of a ban. So I just want to make that clear, Councilor. Thank you.
No. Well, to me, that doesn't even sound like very many people for a big holiday where we have crunchy
Yeah.
lawns and such. I mean, my concern is, you know, I'm usually a live and let live when it comes to 4th of July type things. But I've only heard from one person who's asked not to have anything banned. If it's just symbolic, isn't it still good to be symbolic? That shows that, hey, we don't want to do this. I actually had a conversation with somebody who hasn't broken it to her teenage kids that their family's not doing fireworks this year. She said for her, it'd be a lot easier if she could just say, we can't do fireworks this year. So maybe that's not just a one-off. What if it's a lot of people going, sorry, kids, we can't do it this year because, you know, they're seeing other people do it. I just sort of feel like the reasons that you're telling me you can't enforce it are actually reasons why we at least need to say, don't do it. Because if you only have that many people out on patrol and you're not even going to be able to enforce the legal ones, why have any of them out there? That's where I'm at with it. I'm sort of confused because I had a tree come down on my house in February. We all went through the pandemic. We all went through the wildfires. I'm actually not up for one more tragedy, one more thing. So coming out of the pandemic, I'm thrilled that I can just be with my family, that I can be with friends, that I can have barbecue. So I think I'm hearing a lot more of that. Though I want to tell you, Councillor Alexander, I actually was thinking the same thing you were, having a place where maybe the fire department could be, and they could sit there and, you know, help monitor the area. So, you know, if you're there, that you're doing it safely. It's a place to go do it. In Central Oregon, where I'm going, that's what they do every year. And everybody pulls their chairs out and they sit there, and it's from this time to this time. And the fire department hands out smoke detectors and little, you know, badges to everybody. And then it's done and it's cleaned up and everybody goes away. So I don't know. I mean, I'm torn with that. I don't think that because we can't enforce it, we shouldn't do it, because we're not able to enforce illegal ones. So that's how I feel. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hartman.
Thank you. I just wanted to get, I mean, I understand what everyone is saying, that if we put a ban, people are just going to do it anyways. I get that. But just for like clarification on an example, if we don't do a ban and someone calls and says someone's setting off illegal fireworks, what sort of grounds do you have? I know you had kind of mentioned, but it was hard to hear what steps and proof you have to go through in order to ticket or whatever it is that you would do. So what would that process be if we didn't do a ban versus if we did do a ban and someone calls? Do you have more control over enforcing that if there is a ban versus not having a ban?
Yes, I think I understand your question correctly, Counselor. And the requirements would be the same, to be no different. Regardless of whether there's a ban in effect or not a ban in effect, our focus is going to be heavily on illegal fireworks that go up in the air and cause most of the damage. That's really going to be our focus. Those are the most dangerous ones, unless we come across legal fireworks that are obviously dangerous and dangerous position, we can deal with that. But the requirements is we have to see, one, we have to recognize they're illegal, which is fairly simple when you're watching that, but then you have to make sure you identify the person. So you have to be right there to see it. And that's difficulty, because people see us coming before we see them.
You gotta drive in those unidentified cars, right? But so if there is a ban and people are using legal fireworks, and you know, Susie calls and says, my neighbors are still using fireworks, that is actually a potential that your calls could be increased.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And then to answer Councillor Alexander and Councillor Tracy, I had this same idea too about the parking lot, you know, but then I kept thinking from an event planning standpoint in terms of insurance, you know, whose liability is that and where do we do that? But I think it would be great. I think we should just have a big dance party or something, like just do a mini Chautauqua. But those are all the questions that I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So one of the concerns that the mayor of Lake Oswego brought up was that 4th of July is one of the busiest times for dispatch already. And if we layer on the legal fireworks, it's going to absolutely make it impossible to dispatch correctly because there'll be so many calls. And I'm assuming CCOM would be the same. And I think CCOM is most of Clackamas County. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the most rural areas of Clackamas County, yes.
So we would have now does LOCOM, they don't dispatch for us.
That's correct. LOCOM dispatches for Westland, Milwaukee, and Lake Oswego.
Okay, so does CCOM ramp up staff in order to take care of the heavier load?
I don't have the answer to that question about the police side of this.
Okay, so Mayor Buck's concern was that if we layer on legal fireworks, then it's going to be almost impossible to prioritize the really, major 911 calls because everybody is going to be calling because their next door neighbors using sparklers or because they'll all be legal. So for me, that's concerning because again, 4th of July is already the busiest day of the year. And then to layer on more and the fact that we can't enforce the rules that we already have on the books fully. So you're setting the police department and the fire department up for failure if they're not able to respond to everybody that needs them. So I'm gonna just do a consensus first and then see where that goes. And if it looks like we need to do a vote to do a resolution, we can do that. Councilor Alexander, you had a question.
Yeah, since we've got a couple other counselors on board, what steps would we have to take to tomorrow if I got up to set this up and put it out on social media that you could bring your children there between 7 and 9 bring your chairs and 7 to 9 let the kids enjoy their fireworks, legal ones down at the.
You need to approve it through the school district, and I think the risk and liability insurance issue is going to be probably a no-go for them. So you would need to find someplace probably that the city, I don't even know if our insurance would allow that. And Jackie's shaking her head no. We have to look at it from the risk and liability viewpoint. Unfortunately, it would be nice if we could all party in the streets, but if it's driven by the city, there's extra steps that have to be taken.
Okay.
What about Fort? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Counselor. I just wanted to, Mayor, is it okay if I can clarify that?
Yes, please. Yes.
Councilor Todd, and just to your point about having a fire crew standing by on a location like that, we do not have the staffing to support that. It would be our on-duty crew, and the odds would be that they would leave to go on a response. And I think it would be very challenging to just have one crew try to do all those things. So we need to keep the one crew available for emergency response. We don't have the staffing for a standby.
Yeah, I just wonder, because I'm talking about Crooked River Ranch, which can't have that much bigger of a fire crew than we have. And it's something that they do annually. And you could do it on Portland Avenue is what I'm thinking. You don't have, that's city property, and just have people like they're going in a parade in one spot. I don't know. It seems like it's a way that we could, maybe if it's not this year, we look at it for future years also. Because I don't think this drought and this dryness is going away. So, it might be something we look into for future stuff as well.
Okay. So I'm just going to do a consensus and I'm going to ask whether we want to vote on a resolution to ban fireworks. So Councilor Alexander.
Listening to staff, I don't think we need to vote on a resolution to ban them.
Okay, Councilor Garlington.
I just want to clarify, you're talking about banning legal fireworks.
Yes, yeah, illegal are already banned. We're talking about legal fireworks.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So I'm going to say no.
Okay, Councilor Tracy.
I think if we could do the reach out or outreach on the education part of this, I think I'm just going to say that I don't think there's any efficacy in the ban. So let's educate as best as we can over the next few days and try to get people to be careful.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ripley.
No.
Okay, Councilor Todd.
Just listening to the citizens who have been reaching out to me, I have to say yes. So.
Okay, Councilor Hartman.
Yeah, I agree with Councilor Todd. You know, I appreciate everyone that has written in and said all the emails. I want you to know that your time is valuable to us, but I also understand our staff's perspective. But I do want to listen to our citizens, and I would say yes, that we should do a ban.
Okay, and then I vote no, so that's 5-2. So we're not going to move forward with the resolution, but I think there's some good ideas that have come out of this. And I think with enough time, we could do something that is really a community event that can be safe and happy and good for everybody. So let's focus on that for this next year. Councilor Alexander.
Yeah, I have a question. I agree with Councilor Tracy that I think we should start tomorrow and get this education out there. I mean, do we need to, how do we do that? What's the best way to do that? So we can start, I can start tomorrow that we just, I mean, I talked to all my neighbors and, you know, they say, we're pretty smart, we're pretty responsible. So, but I'm wondering how we can educate, because we do need to, if that's what we're gonna do, we need to educate them quickly and be, you know, make sure they've got buckets of water, their hoses available, they're smart, the parents are supervising them. So how do we go about that? How's that look? And what can we do, or what can I do to start that?
Thank you, Counselor. We started yesterday with our first launch of education, and now we're going to do a series of layers. We're using a lot of our social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, city's website. We can also make paper copies if you would like them to hand out to residents. So we can help that. We started it, and it will continue throughout the weekend, starting again today and tomorrow. So.
Okay, Councilor Hartman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to follow up on that. Is there a way, you know, making sure we protect our parks, specifically Meldrum and the nature park, those, especially Meldrum, that people are going to be at the river, people are going to be setting stuff off there, and how do we, can we print like a banner or like signs that have that education there too, like maybe by the porta potties or something, just a thought out there, because a lot of those might not even be our own residents, but just the effort to try and educate. Meldrum scares me down there. It's just is so dry right now. So just a thought.
And Councilor Hartman, that's exactly why I've already reached out to Order Patrol and their staff and scheduled to be out there at least till 11 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. So we have extra eyes and ears out there and a uniform presence. They can't necessarily issue citations, but they call us and we'll go down.
We would like to have volunteers help us if they want to go down and put flyers on car windows too. That's something else that is very effective. If you are, you know, people that want to help us with the education, we can certainly make that happen as well.
Councilor Alexander.
Yeah, that's another idea. I mean, yeah, I would go put flyers up around the neighborhood. And I'm also thinking, Chief Schmerber, when you have officers out, you know, they're patrolling visible areas or people they come in contact with. Would they be able to carry some of those around and either post them or hand them out too?
Yes, we would be able to take care of that, yes.
Okay, thank you. And if you print them up, I'll come get some and I'll go put them everywhere they'll let me put them.
Well, and people need to realize that this isn't just our message. The fire districts, the other cities around us, and the state are all pushing out this exact same message. So it's not just limited to Gladstone, which is good. It's definitely a community effort or a state effort. Councilor Garlington, you have your hand up.
So two things. Number one, I think that it would be, and I'd be willing to go down on the 4th of July at Meldrum Bar and stand at the front at the pay station and hand out a little sign that says, fireworks are just flat out illegal in this park, you know. Just a reminder, fireworks are illegal. But one of the things that Steve and I have done for years, because we go to, like Councilor Todd, we're not at our home on the 4th. We go to a friend's house for a party. We're close by the house, if anybody's interested. But we pull our hose out all the way to the street and make sure our neighbors know our hose is out, turn it on and use it. Because if something happens at your house, there's nothing worse than trying to get your hose undone. But if everybody has their hose out, I'm talking just in case. But one of the things that would, I think that, you know, I picture like somebody else had said, somebody calling the cops on poor little Susie who's got her sparkler out there and her folks are standing there and everybody's trying to be safe. And that's the kind of stuff that I don't want to see people, hurting their neighbors, or creating an issue. But I think that education, like Counselor Tracy has said, and the rest of you have said, education is key here. And I think that it's up to us to make sure that we help with that. And the other thing is that we have received, I don't know, probably 25 to 50 emails. I couldn't even count them, of people who are concerned and have asked us to ban them. And I think that what we need from staff is a reply to people that say, on this, we hear your voice, we understand what you're saying. And this is the message we'd like for you to share with your neighbors is put your fireworks away put your legal fireworks away till New Year's and get rid of the rest of them. Education, reaching out. And I'm willing to help on the 4th of July at the front of Meldrum Bar Park if that's needed. If you guys think it would help, whatever you need me to do, let me know. I'm there.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Tracy?
So I agree with Councilor Garlington on those points, but one other thing I think we could do too is we probably ought to say to our citizens, if we had, and again, the question is for the two chiefs, if we had the staff and resources available, would this ban be able to be put in place and properly enforced? We're 2 days away from the event or 3 days away from the event. We're not a large city with 100 firefighters and 100 police officers, right? So we really don't have the resources in place to do anything other than monitoring for most of these things, I'm guessing, first. And then second, I think going back to Councilor Garlington's point, it's like, I think there's gonna have to be some personal responsibility in this situation, going to talk to our neighbors or what have you. But I mean, we're not saying no to a ban because we don't want to ban fireworks. We're saying no to a ban because the ban wouldn't be able to really hold, creates more stress for both of our fire services and police department. And to the mayor's point and other points, the 911 calls that are true emergency calls, I've listened to Portland radio, Portland Fire Radio, and Portland Police Radio during the 4th of July. They get inundated on CCOM with firework calls, and to the point where they say, we don't even want to hear about them in the field anymore. So if we can't really do this because we don't have the staff and resources, that doesn't mean we don't not want to ban fireworks. We do. We just would be possibly creating more of a problem. I want our citizens to understand that, because a lot of times it's a cut and dry decision. This is not a black and white decision. This is a gray area decision. We got to make the right decision. That's just my thoughts.
All right.
Councilor Tracy, thank you. I think you said that perfectly well.
It was well said. We appreciate
Well
that.
said. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, that's all. Oh, Counselor
Mayor-
Todd.
Was it me? I just wanted to ask the chiefs, is that what Counselor Garlington brought up? I mean, like, if we could give our neighbors things that sort of like neighborhood watch stuff to do, say, hey, why don't we all pull out our hoses to the street? Or, hey, does somebody on West Hereford want to put out a bucket of water? It's not monitoring each other, but you at least feel like you're helping in some way, that you're doing something. Does that help to have hoses out front, or are you like, don't do it because
I think that, Council, I think that's a great idea, and it does, and I personally do that myself whenever we used to do fireworks, but I think that would help rally the neighborhoods together and have a hose and a bucket out. And if everybody knew that, that little bit might control a fire that we don't have to go to.
Right. Even if you're not home, you're leaving, make sure your neighbors know, but pull out your hose, and everybody just sort of, has them out there. And if something happens, you're just grabbing your neighbor's hose if that's the closest one. It feels like, I think people feel helpless that they're going to be sitting at home, having a barbecue with their family, whatever. And then, the Yahoo across the street is setting off stuff that all of a sudden the fear starts to kick in. And so at least if you had something that you're doing, something that, can, I just think that if we could come up with those in the education, might be better than saying just be kind, because I think you said it right. The people who are going to do it are going to do it. So what about the people who aren't? What can we do to make ourselves safe and keep our property safe? So,
Well, we've got 3 days.
okay.
3 days to get the message out. So everybody go knock on doors. All right, well, that's it for
Mayor?
today.
Mayor?
Yes, yes.
Counselor Ripley has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Counselor Ripley.
You did.
Yeah, I was trying to fat finger that. My hands are still dirty. My only last thought was, since we were talking about, we don't have staffing for this and don't have staffing for that. I do think the one thing that we can afford to do is add a few extra garbage cans on these holiday weekends at the parks. The last holiday weekend, I was told by a few people that all the garbage cans were overflowing and there's garbage all over the place. So that's my only thought. If we could at least throw some garbage cans out at our parks when there's gonna be more people there, it might help things out a lot.
Yeah, I think Darren actually had mentioned that in the Parks Board meeting, that they were going to be putting more garbage cans out. So we'll make sure that he gets that message loud and clear and doesn't forget that. So again, thank you very much for coming, everybody. We were hearing from so many people, and I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and that we knew what staff was able to do and not to do. So I need somebody to make a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Motion was made by Counselor Tracy and seconded in tandem by Counselors Garlington and Hartman to adjourn the meeting. Any further discussion? Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Todd,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Tracy,
Yes.
Mayor Stemple.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and have a safe and fun 4th of July.